Okay, this is People of the State of Michigan versus Pamela Hopkins Bishop, docket number 21-136 FC. This is the time set for sentencing in this matter. And first, Ms. Hopkins Bishop, can you confirm with me that you did agree to do the sentencing by Zoom?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Hopkins Bishop, you were convicted of assault with intent to commit murder. That is a felony punishable by life or any term of years. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Silverthorne. And Mr. Silverthorne, first of all, I got your sentencing memorandum / letter, and I just want to confirm that I did review that. And have you had a chance to review the pre-sentence report with your client?
Yes, actually, we've done it several occasions, most recently about a final time about 90 minutes to 2 hours ago.
Okay, and this was set before when I was ill, so I've changed the sentencing date on the pre-sentence report to today's date, and I changed the credit days to 379 days. And if there's no objection, then I'll ask if there's any other corrections to the report, Mr. Silverthorne.
Okay, no objection, John. Those are correct. There are a few, mostly minor, but still. Under what appears to be, I think it's under the new conviction update report, but I think it was originally evaluation plan, where it begins before your honor for sentencing on a second felony conviction. The paragraph that begins with that.
Yes.
Okay, it should be the defendant reports her second child is deceased, not her fourth.
Okay.
And if the court probably has caught it, but it has, it should be 379 days in that body of the report also.
I got it.
And then of course the change of the date. Moving on. Under the victim's impact statement, just some corrections. Top of the page of the second page of that victim's, it said shout out my teether. I'm sure that means teeth.
I'm sorry, where was it again? I know the victim's impact statement, but
Victim's
where in
impact
that?
statement begins on, and then go to the second full page of that.
Oh, yeah.
Where it says
Right,
shout
I
out
saw
my
that.
teether. I'm sure that should mean shout out my teeth.
Yes, understood.
And then in the next paragraph, towards the middle of the second line, the word second should be there. It says SND, time.
Yes.
And then under sentencing, which is the next paragraph, it says it's currently costing me a small fortune. I'm sure that means a small fortune.
Yes.
Under his prior record,
Yes.
not of 9 of 1, there's a date that cannot be correct. It is under the conviction date. I suspect, based on the sentence date, that the conviction date probably preceded by about 5 weeks. So I'm guessing it's 9/8/1997, not 2007.
Wait, I'm sorry, which number conviction was it?
1 of 1, or 1 of 8, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
If you see the offense date, there's not a 20-year gap on the sentencing date. It's clearly an error.
So what do you think I should correct?
The conviction date / method should read 9/8/1997, not 2007.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like I said, they're just small things.
No, that's important. Okay, go on.
Okay. Moving on to family. In the narrative portion following the boxed portion, Ms. Hopkins indicates her parents were never married, so they were separated, not divorced. That's the third line down. Again, under the comments paragraph, the word divorce should be changed separated.
I don't have that.
Oh, wow, really? I'm looking right at it.
Okay, and typically on a pre-sentence report, it comes after the list of convictions. Is that where it is?
Right, exactly. That's it. It says that, here's what I'm reading. The defendant was born in Lansing to Claude and Tammy Van Hoosen. The defendant reported she was raised by both parents until age 9. Her parents divorced. And when I read that a couple hours ago, and she said, my parents were never married, they separated.
Okay, so I have those pages, but they're in the attached report for Judge Stewart.
Oh, yes, yeah,
There's-
I'm sorry. Yes, that is correct. I don't know
Okay.
why they did it that way. You're right.
I don't
I
either.
apologize. You're right. We don't even have that in this report. We have it. I guess since they didn't change anything from Judge Stewart's, the agent must have thought it was
Typically, they would re-
economical just to give us the other report.
Typically, they would repeat everything in my report, but I guess they didn't, so.
Yeah,
What's your-
yeah, I apologize. That was a little irritating to have to go back and forth.
What's your correction then?
It's separated, not divorced.
Okay,
And on that Judge Stewart report, she indicated that the ages of the children that appear there were the ages, were not their current ages, but the ages at which they were when they were when her parental rights were terminated. And then one of them, Emilio Lira, was 5 months old, not, he wasn't in utero, he wasn't 0.
okay, I'll put 5 months. And I'll add age at time rights were terminated.
That's correct.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, any others?
The following page under health, under medications, mini press, which is in the second line in that box.
Yes,
Ms. Hopkins indicated she is discontinued it in the last couple of weeks. She was having bad reactions to it.
okay, I crossed it off.
Okay, I think let me just check. I guess I'd have to kind of switch from report to report. Well, there's going to be, and I think there it won't be challenged. It actually has to do with the scoring, but it does appear in the BAR. And I think that the Ms. Nelson's going to agree because it doesn't really change anything. The prior record total, we believe, is going to be 15, not 20. That's on the BAR.
Okay, got it. I
That's-
will ask that they, when they make the corrections that we've made, I will ask them to take the sections on family that we just went through and put them as part of my report rather than a separate report, but was that all your corrections then, Mr. Silverthorne?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, and then you said there's a change to the guidelines. Is that the only change that's stipulated?
That I'm aware of. There's a change to one of the prior record variables. I
Okay, you
think-
want to take that, Ms. Nelson, or?
Sure, Your Honor. Mr. Silverthorne had reached out to me as it relates to PRV 5. We both agree that that should be scored at 0. There is a 10-year gap. There's a 10-year gap in her criminal history that would prevent her misdemeanors from being scored.
Got it. So her total PRVs are 15?
Correct. The level would stay at C.
Okay. Any other objections or changes to scoring?
I have
Not yet.
none. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
That's a
I
no
have
for
none
both
for the
sides.
defendant.
And no other
Okay.
corrections or changes on behalf of the people, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. And then, was there a victim who wished to be heard?
No, Your Honor, I believe his information was included in the victim impacts portion of the report. We would obviously echo what he has to say. The people have significant concerns for the overall magnitude of this case. As it's detailed in the report, Ms. Hopkins Bishop admittedly goes to that area in an attempt to rob our victim, regardless of the fact of our victim's own circumstances or whether or not he is or is not a dealer of substances doesn't change Ms. Hopkins Bishop's decisions that she made that day or her intentions that day. When she arrives at that location, she is greeted by the victim who rolls down his car window. He's ultimately almost immediately shot in the face and is luckily well enough to drive himself to the hospital to obtain treatment for that. And so I don't think that absent her, prior medical history, I know that was mentioned in the sentencing memorandum or prior mental health history, and not to minimize that by any means, but I don't think that that changes or minimizes the concerns for her behavior on this day or the severity. We very well could have easily, for any other circumstances, been before this court for a very different type of charge and different case in this. And we're obviously grateful that the victim is not more seriously injured than he is in this case. Our Killebrew agreement stated that the minimum sentence would not exceed 78 months. Certainly that represents the people's position on this case. However, we would ask the court to place that minimum at 78 months. We think considering the facts of the case, considering the guidelines as they originally are, the 78 months is more than reasonable for this court to issue to ensure the public safety of the future of the community, considering Ms. Hopkins Bishop's dangerous behaviors and the other mitigating factors present as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Silverthorne, you're next.
Yes, Your Honor. I would point out that Ms. Hopkins Bishop confessed to this basically immediately. And within that minutes of that confession, it appeared that she expressed the remorse. She had been close to Mr. Penfield in a bad way, the sort of the way a drug user is to their supplier, but they also had a on again, off again personal relationship, and her remorse was was genuine. It continues today. She indicates that at that time, and this appears in, I don't know if the court availed itself of the criminal responsibility part, but it has so much more detail than the PSAR or anything that we could tell the court. This is why in reviewing it, I suggested that the court look at it, and I had the permission of the defendant and permission of Ms. Nelson to offer that to the court. The person that I saw back in February, a year ago, is the person that is described in the report and described in the criminal responsibility report. That's not who I have the pleasure of being in front of today. Since then, she's taken every opportunity that the jail has provided her to attend. And I won't go over them again. That's why I have the memorandum. She's done a lot. Her attitude has changed. And this is the first time in the 41 years of her life that she kind of understands that as between train and change the world, I think she reported at the time of the plea, if the court recalls, I just wanted him to die. I wanted him to go away. And the reason for that is that he was the person that sold her drugs. She was looking outside at that point. The guy that sold it to me, the society, the upbringing that she had, everything was external to herself. And so what she did is she embarked on self-improvement that focused on her, because she's come to understand it's a lot easier if you're going to have change to change yourself than to try to change the whole world around you, which is essentially what she was trying to do when she shot Mr. Penfield. She figured, and she's come to understand that there'll always be another drug dealer. There'll always be another temptation. There'll always be something out there. The one thing that she has any degree of control over is herself. And I just want to report that. And I don't think I expressed it as well as I could have in my memorandum. So we're also asking that the court follow the arrangement. We're not asking for any particular time within that arrangement, just that the court follow that, because I think the unique circumstances of this case warrant that. And I am anxious to see, when she's out, how she puts into action all of the things that she has started. She's completed virtually everything she's began. The one thing that she hadn't completed in that laundry list of items that I gave Your Honor was her GED. She has two classes, but she has a severe learning disability that's hampered her, but she's going to continue trying because she's completed everything else. And certain things like her Bible studies, she's done over and over and over again. So I'm just asking that, letting you know that the person that you see described in the report did the things in the report, but has taken every opportunity while at the jail to better herself. And again, I hope you follow the agreement. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Silverthorne, I thought your memorandum was very, very exceptionally well written, but so you said you didn't express it as well as you could have, but it was done very well.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Hopkins Bishop, is there anything you wanted to say?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to say that, first, I'm sorry to Mr. Penfield for all the pain that I caused him. The person that did that to him was a person who was strung out on drugs, and my addiction I became a prisoner of my addiction, and I didn't know how to get away from it. And it took me a long time to get better. Recovery isn't a speedy process. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and I'm just really sorry that I have caused them all these problems. It's unnecessary. We could have talked about our issues and it didn't have to result to this. When I read his victim impact statement, or whenever I look at the report and see what I did, it makes me sick because it's not who I am. And I'm sorry. Two wrongs don't make a right. No matter how much I was mad at him, two wrongs don't make a right. And I just hope that someday he forgives me. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, that's where I was going to start, Ms. Hopkins Bishop, with pointing out that two wrongs don't make a right. So you perceived that he had done something terrible to you and you did something terrible to him. That's not right. That only spreads around evil in the world. So I think you realize that, but I was impressed by the efforts that you've made. I think you've done really well with jail programming and looking at yourself and making change and making it starting with you. I think you deserve credit for that. I think as your attorney noted in his memorandum, that doesn't mean that you walk free from this because it is a very disturbing and very serious offense. I feel very bad for Mr. Penfield. I don't care what the circumstances were. Absolutely no one deserves that. And he was obviously very significantly harmed by this. And it seems completely unprovoked and unjustifiable. And I will follow the Killebrew agreement, but I do agree that the sentence at the highest end of that agreement is appropriate to this case. Therefore, you must pay $130 to the Crime Victims Fund, $68 in state costs, $500 in cost to the county based on the state court administrative office calculated average cost of a criminal case in Ingham County. And you are committed to the custody of the Michigan Department of Corrections for a period not less than 78 months, nor more than 240 months. You receive credit for 379 days already served. And Ms. Hopkins Bishop, you have the right to file an application for leave to appeal your conviction and your sentence in this matter. You're entitled to an attorney at public expense to assist you in doing that. If you're making a request for one, you have to make it within 42 days of today's date. There is a form you use to start that process. It's called appellate rights. We'll make sure you get one in your hands. You should just know that the 42 days, if you want to file a request for an attorney for an appeal, starts running from today's date. And you are remanded to the custody of the sheriff and the Michigan Department of Corrections. Do you have any questions, Ms. Hopkins Bishop, before we go?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Then you can tell them at the jail that your hearing is concluded.